Trigger warning. Violence and blood. Mia twins tend to be very emotional. Chapter 16. Jaded. Atsumu closes his eyes. The gentle sea breeze is playing with his hair as he takes deep, calming breaths. Beneath his toes, the softness of the sand grounds him, and the rhythmic sound of the waves creates a soothing melody. When he opens his eyes, he's greeted by the breathtaking sight of a beach bathed in the warm hues of the setting sun. It's a moment of serene beauty he hasn't experienced in far too long. It's nice, beautiful. As he strolls along the water's edge, the cool touch of the waves splashes against his bare ankles. Atsumu stretches his arms overhead, turning his face toward the sun, relishing the last golden rays. A genuine smile graces his lips. The weight of responsibilities and worries seems to evaporate in the tranquil atmosphere. At this moment, Atsumu feels truly free. It's been so long. Coming to a stop, he turns towards the open sea, his eyes fixed on the sun descending in slow motion towards the horizon, painting the sky in vivid hues of red and orange. The intensity of the colors mesmerizes him, and he finds comfort in the warmth they radiate. "Are you planning to stay there the whole time?" teases a voice, too familiar to be ignored. Atsumu's smile widens, and he turns towards the source, raising an eyebrow in a playful challenge. "I'm planning how to throw you into the water, Omi," he quips, his mischievous grin widening. Kyumi laughs at that, a sound that resonates with familiarity and comfort. Atsumu's gaze lingers on him, taking in every detail. He wears a white linen shirt, unbuttoned and billowing in the breeze, paired with black shorts. The sun kisses every inch of his pale complexion, highlighting the beauty of his figure and contrasting with the tattoo that graces his skin. Atsumu marvels at the sight, realizing once again how stunning Kyumi looks. A golden necklace adorns Kyumi's neck, a flaming sun dangling from it and resting on his chest. A subtle connection to Atsumu. Pride swells in his chest, witnessing Kyumi wearing something so personal to him. Osamu must have given it to Kyumi. Atsumu wonders when that happened. The wind ruffles Kyumi's curls. His cheeks are colored with a subtle blush. Has he always been this breathtaking? Breaking Atsumu from his thoughts, Kyumi flashes a mischievous smile. "You'd have to catch me first," he declares, taking off along the shoreline, eager to chase the playful challenge. Atsumu wastes no time in sprinting after him, both of them disappearing into the fading sunlight, lost in the joy of the moment. Atsumu just can't resist a good challenge. With a wide grin on his face, he bolts after Kyumi, the soft sand beneath his feet making each step a delightful bounce. The rhythmic sound of the waves crashing against the shore serves as the backdrop to their playful chase. Kyumi darts skillfully between the patches of wet sand, his laughter carried away by the salty breeze. Atsumu's competitive spirit kicks in, and he picks up the pace, determination written all over his face. As he gains on Kyumi, he extends his arm, fingers barely brushing the fabric of his linen shirt. Kyumi smirks, effortlessly evading the capture, and Atsumu can't help but be captivated by the grace in every movement. The glow of the setting sun accentuates Kyumi's features, turning him into a vision that Atsumu can't get enough of. The cool waves lap at their feet and Kyumi turns around. A playful glint swells in his eyes. "Give up yet, Atsumu?" he teases, a smirk still playing on his lips. Atsumu grins, undeterred. "Ha, your wish." Determination fuels his steps as he closes the distance, and just as he reaches out to catch Kyumi, they both stumble in the soft sand, laughter bubbling between them. They land on the beach, getting soaked as the tiny waves come crashing down on them. They are a tangled mess of limbs and laughter, the fading sunlight casting a warm glow on their entwined forms. As they catch their breath, Atsumu gazes up at the sky, the colors of the sunset reflecting in his eyes. Kyumi lies beside him and turns his head to meet Atsumu's gaze. There's a moment of silent connection, a shared understanding that goes beyond words. The world fades away, leaving only the sound of the waves and the warmth of each other's presence. With a contented sigh, Atsumu murmurs, "Maybe catching you isn't the point after all." Kyumi chuckles softly, intertwining his fingers with Atsumu's, and they lay there, watching the sky transition from day to night, grateful for the simple joy of each other's presence on this beautiful beach. Atsumu turns his head to gaze at Kyumi, captivated by the soft glow that surrounds him. The last remnants of daylight outline Kyumi's features, casting a warm and ethereal light. Their eyes lock, and Atsumu loses himself in the obsidian depths of Kyumi's gaze. It's a look that holds secrets, a language only they understand. Atsumu recognizes the sliver of hunter green in Kyumi's eyes, a subtle detail that has always drawn him in. In this tranquil moment, time seems to slow down, and they share a quiet understanding that surpasses words. The world around them fades away, leaving only the rhythmic sounds of the waves and the shared warmth of their intertwined fingers. Atsumu can feel the steady beat of his heart, a silent rhythm echoing in tandem with Kyumi's. "If it's not about catching me," Kyumi murmurs, and Atsumu's heart beats a little harder. "Then what is it about? And isn't that something Atsumu has yet to find out?" Atsumu. Osamu's soft call stirs Atsumu from the edges of his sleep. He cracks his eyes open to a room still draped in shadows, the curtains drawn tightly closed. He recognizes However, the subtle rays of light filtering through the fabric, indicating it must be way past midday. Despite this, he doesn't bother to fully wake up. The door creaks open, and Osamu's face appears, gently framed by the doorway. His voice is still soft when it breaks the silence once again. You awake, Tsumu? Atsumu grunts in response, the sound muffled by the layers of fabric pulled tightly around him. He feels Osamu's gaze lingering on him, watching silently the exhaustion that has settled deep within his bones. He steps into Atsumu's room. His movements are cautious as if not to disturb the delicate balance of his twin's world. You planning on getting up today? He asks, concern evident in his voice. Atsumu grumbles, pulling the blanket even further up as if creating a shield against the outside world. Not feeling like it. The weight of lethargy, both physical and emotional, presses him down. Getting up has become an increasingly difficult task, one he doesn't have the energy for. Weeks have passed in this cycle of fatigue, and Atsumu finds himself tethered to his bed, unable to break free. It's easier this way. Why should he deal with his thoughts and feelings when he can just sleep it all away? He's tired anyway. Atsumu is as tired as he's never been before, so a little rest will do him good, right? Yes. He's tired and he needs to rest. So why get up? His bed is warm. Geez. Osamu mumbles, and it sounds like he's picking things up. This room's a mess. The rustle of Osamu tidying up is the only sound that accompanies Atsumu's jaded existence in the cocoon of his bed. The room is shrouded in a heavy silence. Exhaustion settles like a veil around Atsumu's shoulders. He is tired. So tired. Without warning, Osamu decides to rip the curtains open, allowing the blinding daylight to flood the room. The sudden brightness assaults Atsumu's senses. He frowns, squeezes his eyes shut, and instinctively pulls the blanket over his head, turning away from the unwelcome intrusion and facing the wall. The abrupt exposure to light sends a dull ache through Atsumu's temples. He groans in annoyance, his voice, once again, muffled by the layers of fabric. Fuck off, Samu. But Osamu is unfazed. You can't stay in bed all day, Tsumu, he insists. His voice is firm yet gentle. Atsumu doesn't have the energy for a retort. He simply grunts in response, hoping Osamu will take the hint and leave him be. He's too tired to answer, too exhausted to muster a protest. He just wants to be alone. Why won't they leave him alone? The mattress dips behind Atsumu's back, signaling Osamu's presence. There's a soothing warmth radiating off him. A hand gently lands on Atsumu's shoulder, a silent gesture of comfort. It feels nice. It makes his heart ache. It's almost too much. Atsumu needs to get out of here. Osamu sits in silence, touching his twin as if to permeate the layers of exhaustion surrounding him. The warmth of his gesture offers a respite and at the same time, it threatens to suffocate him. Atsumu's eyes sting, a telltale sign of tears threatening to resurface, but he's too drained to give in to the urge. He's sick of crying. He's sick of everything. The room blurs at the edges, but Atsumu refuses to let the tears fall. His body is too drained, too exhausted, so he simply lays there, staring indifferently at the wall. There's a haze of tiredness shrouding his mind, a numbness, a heavy fog that is dulling Atsumu's senses. He just wants to sleep. Talk to me, Tsumu, Osamu says in hushed tones, drawing himself closer to his twin. He places a hand on Atsumu's head and Atsumu closes his eyes. It feels nice. You've been tired a lot lately. What's wrong? But Atsumu doesn't feel like answering. Atsumu doesn't feel like doing anything. Atsumu feels like sleeping. God. He needs to rest. He opens his eyes and ignores the sinking feeling in his stomach, ignores the twinge in his chest. He takes a deep breath and blinks a few times, trying to adjust his eyes to the bright light. It's giving him a headache. I'm just tired, Samu, he mumbles, the words escaping from a place deep within, a place that feels heavy and burdened. Atsumu shifts, turning around to face his brother, the layers of the blanket slipping off. Ugh, it really is too bright in here. His eyes meet Osamu's, and there's a fleeting moment of vulnerability in that gaze. Feels like these 2 years apart are kinda starting to get to me a little, but it's fine. I promise. Morning blues or something. It's an attempt to convince both Osamu and himself that everything is okay. The reassurance is there, but it's fragile, like a delicate thread holding back a wave of unspoken emotions. Atsumu attempts a smile, though it's feeble. You're not blaming yourself, are you? It feels like Osamu is stabbing his knife through Atsumu's heart. A silence descends, thick with unspoken thoughts. Atsumu blinks, averts his eyes from his brother, and turns back, tugging the blanket back under his chin. He feels sick. He wants to sleep. Don't blame yourself, Osamu says, eventually squeezing Atsumu's shoulder lightly. I'm here. I'm back. There's no need for you to worry. Oh, if you only knew. Osamu's words are a lifeline, a plea for Atsumu to release the guilt that threatens to drown him. Of course, His brother notices that something is wrong, but Osamu can't possibly know that there is so much more to this behavior than he thinks he is aware of. I'm here. Osamu repeats in a whisper. You can talk to me or not, but I'm here. Atsumu nods, a small, almost imperceptible motion, and whispers, okay. One day, he will tell him. One day, Atsumu will tell his brother what actually happened while he was away. But right now, he can't do it. Eventually, he got up. Atsumu stands atop a high-rise building, his silhouette painted against the canvas of the setting sun. It dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm, golden hue over the sprawling city of Osaka. The wind swells around him, carrying the promise of colder days to come, a bite that signals the impending arrival of winter. So much time has already passed. He crouches down and pulls the zipper of his burgundy jacket closed, tugging the collar up over his nose to protect himself from the imminent cold. He takes a moment to revel in the city's heartbeat, a rhythmic pulse that matches the ebb and flow of its chaos. Atsumu's eyes narrow as he gazes down, a smirk playing on his lips as he observes the bustling streets beneath him. The people move like ants, unaware of the presence lurking above. He can't help but revel in the sense of power that comes with his vantage point. There are 4 or 5 henchmen that Terashima has sent here, Mian said when he called him. Then he teased with a nasty smile. Take them out, kid. That shouldn't be a problem for you alone. Now, should it? Yeah, Atsumu thinks. It's just that these 4 or 5 men you told me about are rather 20 to 30. Asshole. But who would Atsumu be if that didn't fire him up? He's brimming with excitement. It's been a while since he's been able to exert himself like this. Since he's finally been able to face a real challenge again. Kita's missions were nothing but appetizers. This, here, right in front of him, is the real banquet. His record is 25 men that he has killed on his own, without any help, without anyone looking after him. Oh, he's more than ready to break it. Atsumu's hand rests casually on the hilt of Beneheim. The blade glints in the fading sunlight. Adrenaline courses through his veins. He can almost feel the electric charge of anticipation building in the air. With a glance down at the unsuspecting targets, Atsumu prepares himself for the impending chaos. He tightens his grip on his katana, ready to carve his mark into the night. Then, he stands up once more, the chill in the air heightening his senses. Atsumu closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. Exhaling slowly, as the last trace of air leaves his lungs, he opens his eyes and a flicker of determination swells within them. Without hesitation, he allows himself to fall forward, plunging from the high-rise building into the open space below, a free fall from the heights of Osaka, the feeling so liberating as if he could finally shake off all his worries and doubts. His body moves with calculated precision, flipping into a somersault midair. Atsumu glides his feet against the building's wall, pushing off to gain more leverage. He aims for the several clotheslines hanging between buildings, a makeshift path that will lead him directly to his marks. The wind rushes past him, and the cityscape blurs as he descends like a silent dancer in the awaiting night. It's the taste of danger, the thrill of the fall, that makes Atsumu feel alive again, free from the shackles of routine, the monotony of his recent days, free from the sluggishness that has kept him tied to his bed for way too long. The exhilaration of this mission is something he hasn't experienced in a good while, and all it does is fuel the fire within him. Atsumu lands on his feet with a controlled grace, the impact barely a whisper against the bustle of the night. In one seamless movement, he takes down 2 men, their bodies crumpling to the ground. 3 more fall victim to his swift strikes, their blood splattering against his cheek. Satisfying. It's Mia Atsumu. Someone yells and Atsumu turns around, irritation etching his features. A murderous glint flickers in his eyes, unveiling layers of insanity that send shivers down the spines of those who dare to cross his path. Atsumu chuckles when he faces the man who dared to utter his name. He licks his teeth, still smiling but with an edge of cruelty. How come everyone knows me? He pulls his katana from the body of an attacker and then mutters threateningly, but I don't know anyone. The man smiles back with a mix of fear and resentment. Atsumu recognizes that Mian has told him about him, that he is the one who directly takes Terashima's orders. They say you should know your enemies. Aren't you being a little reckless, wandering around without knowing who's trying to kill you? The man retorts. Atsumu's grin widens, becoming even nastier. You're here, right? The smile vanishes from the man's face, his eyes widening in shock. It's always amusing to see someone so arrogant chicken out so quickly. Looks like I know everything I need to know. Atsumu mutters menacingly, and then he lashes out. He becomes a force of chaos, a tempest unleashed upon the unsuspecting foes. The narrow alley transforms into a battleground. The clash of steel resonates through the falling night. Atsumu moves his katana with a grace that belies its deadly intent, a seamless extension of his skill. One of the goons lunges at him, a knife glinting in the dim light. Atsumu sidesteps the attack with fluid grace, the blade of Beneheim meeting his opponent's weapon with a resounding clash. A swift counter and the man crumples to the ground. Too easy. 2 more henchmen approach him from different angles, a coordinated effort to overwhelm Atsumu. He shifts effortlessly between defense and offense, parrying strikes with precision and delivering calculated slashes that leave his marks incapacitated. 2. Easy. Another one charges at Atsumu, yelling with determination. A frenzied assault that forces Atsumu to go on the defensive. He pulls out a gun, but Atsumu has it knocked out of his hand in the blink of an eye. The bastard grins as he draws a switchblade from his pocket, overconfident and cocky that he will win. About time you taste your own fucking blood, he says, but Atsumu just huffs as he deflects blow after blow, his grin widening with each successful block. You talk big for someone about to lose, darling, he quips, the words laden with a mocking edge. It doesn't take him long to eliminate this opponent too. His killing count rises. Corpse after corpse falls to the ground, and then something happens that throws his own arrogance back in his face. Atsumu begins to realize it doesn't matter how strong or weak his opponents are. More importantly, there are so many of them and they don't give him a second's rest but keep going and going and going. He won't be able to keep this up for much longer if he doesn't get a quick pause to catch his breath. He has hardly eaten anything in the last few days. He's too drained, and his own body is too exhausted to perform at its best. Karma's a bitch. Huh? The relentless onslaught continues, each foe seemingly replaced by another. Atsumu's movements, initially fluid and precise, begin to lose their sharpness. His steps falter, and the weight of exhaustion becomes palpable. His stamina is waning. Atsumu can't remember the last time he felt so physically weak. Fuck. And then, Atsumu senses the air behind him split as someone charges in from his blind side. Hiya's fist connects with Atsumu's side, the punch so hard that Atsumu staggers back. A second later and knuckles hit Atsumu's face, Benihime slipping from his grasp and clattering against the ground. He becomes dizzy. Shit. This isn't good. He's taken plenty of hits. That's not a problem. Hiya is nothing special. Atsumu just has to pull himself together one more time. If he tears himself away from him and kicks him in the stomach, then another punch and Atsumu blacks out. Hey, a voice cuts through the gentle sound of the waves, pulling Atsumu from the verge of a light doze. Cracking his eyes open, he's met with the sight of Kyumi, hovering over him, a silhouette against the serene backdrop of the beach. His heart skips a beat, and the sight instantly pulls a smile from Atsumu's lips. The corners of his eyes crinkle as his gaze softens upon Kyumi. Hey, he replies, his voice carrying a warmth that matches the colors in the sky. Kyumi pulls back, allowing Atsumu to get up and rest on his elbows. Sitting next to him, Kyumi supports himself with one hand, the other casually draped over his knee. The sand is warm beneath them. Together, they stare at the expanse of the beach. The sun has dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a canvas of warm colors that paint the sky. The beach, now bathed in the soft glow of twilight, becomes a haven for tranquility. A gentle breeze rustles through their hair, and Atsumu closes his eyes again, savoring the moment. The soft sound of the waves, the scent of salt in the air. It's a scene straight out of a dream. Is this a dream? When he opens his eyes, he feels a gentle touch, fingers sneaking their way to his own. Atsumu bites the inside of his cheek to suppress a smile, overwhelmed by the simple yet profound connection. He never thought someone could make him feel this content, this happy. But here he is, hand in hand with Kyumi, on a beach that seems to exist just for them. Maybe it does. Kyumi breaks the silence, his face tinted with a blush. It's beautiful, gorgeous. Did you find your answer? He asks, his gaze shifting from the beach to Atsumu. Do you know what all this is about? For a moment, Atsumu is silent, his eyes locked with Kyumi's. Then, a bright smile cracks across his face, and he squeezes Kyumi's hand. Yeah, he says, the certainty in his voice echoing the warmth of the beach around them. Yeah, I do. It's about moments like these. It's about you and me. Right here, right now. I don't have to catch you 'cause you're already here. A warmth spreads across Kyumi's face, a gentle smile playing on his lips. I've always been here, he murmurs, his voice a soft affirmation. Atsumu's gaze softens further. Yeah, you've always been. They continue to stare at each other, the world around them fading into the background. Atsumu loses himself in Kyumi's presence, captivated by the onyx eyes that seem to hold the universe within them. It's a beauty he can't get enough of, a moment he wishes could stretch into eternity. Kyumi eventually breaks the gaze, his attention shifting to the vast expanse of the ocean. Atsumu can't help but think how pretty Kyumi's flushed cheeks are, the subtle warmth of the blush adding to his charm. So, what now? Kyumi asks, prompting Atsumu to sit upright and take a deep breath. Hunching over his knees, Atsumu tilts his head to face Kyumi. Their eyes meet, and Atsumu murmurs, is this a dream? Omi, because, is it? It feels like a dream. Kyumi stares at him for a moment longer before gently shaking his head. He scoots closer, placing a hand on Atsumu's chest. Heat rushes to Atsumu's cheeks, and he feels the rapid beat of his heart beneath Kyumi's touch. It's your heart, Kyumi explains, and Atsumu bites the inside of his cheek. Placing his hand over Kyumi's, Atsumu leans in a little closer, feeling the comforting warmth of Kyumi's body. Can we stay a little longer? It's nice with you, he says, his golden eyes locked onto Kyuumi's. Kyuumi brushes a blonde strand out of Atsumu's face. Their faces inches apart. He nods. "We can stay as long as you want, Atsumu," Kyuumi murmurs, observing him a little longer. Their lips almost meet when they lean in, and Atsumu's heart outraces time. "I am here," Kyuumi whispers, and his words seem like a soft promise against Atsumu's lips. Atsumu craves him. He needs him. He wants to kiss him. He's so close yet so far. Is this a dream? Atsumu comes back with a gasp. The world returns in a whirl of disorientation. He feels the relentless grip of Hya, looming over him like a vulture closing in on its prey. In a desperate attempt to break free, Atsumu spits in Hya's eyes, blinding him momentarily, and delivers a strong kick to the stomach, tearing himself away from the oppressive hold. Once he regained his bearings, Atsumu observes his surroundings. Two more bodies lie motionless, arrows protruding from their chests. It takes a moment for the realization to hit, and when it finally does, it's like a gut-wrenching sensation that makes Atsumu feel like throwing up. Suna saved him. He would certainly be dead now if Rin hadn't intervened. Hya, undeterred by Atsumu's escape, makes a move toward the blonde's katana. Anger surges through Atsumu, a pissed-off feeling nagging deep in his bones. "No fucking way. Keep your filthy hands off Benihime." Atsumu roars hoarsely, and in a burst of adrenaline, he charges towards Hya, landing a powerful punch to his face before the man can lay a finger on his beloved katana. Hya stumbles, and Atsumu seizes the opportunity to reclaim his weapon. Blood trickles down his arm, staining the blade of his katana. He drags the metal across the ground, an ominous echo slicing through the air as he advances toward the now cowering Hya. Exhaustion and fury blend in Atsumu's eyes, a deadly combination as he towers over his mark. Hya crawls back, wide-eyed and panicked, until he bumps against a wall. Fear etches itself across his face as Atsumu, with a grim determination, raises Benihime, the tip of the blade pointing dangerously at Hya's throat. A deep sigh escapes Atsumu's lips, blood dripping onto the ground. "For everything you bastards did to my brother," he says, and his gaze is dull. "Rot in hell," he declares, and with a swift, merciless motion, he brings down the katana, ending Hya's life. Contempt fills Atsumu's gaze as he watches the aftermath. The bodies scattered around him. Several arrows are embedded in the corpses of his opponents, a sign that he didn't face this onslaught entirely alone, even though the majority of the chaos is on his hands. Blood drips past Atsumu's temple and he snorts, feeling his power waning. A small, defeated smile cracks on his lips as he welcomes what's inevitable. Hya might be dead, but Atsumu knows what comes next might be even worse than this mission here. "What in fucking hell is wrong with you, Atsumu?" Suna's sudden shove against the wall jolts him back to the present, back to the harsh reality of the situation. He yells at Atsumu, demanding an explanation for his erratic behavior. His eyes hold anger and confusion and so much desperation. "Oh, this is odd, Sunarin." Atsumu can't help but smirk scornfully, his gaze unable to focus on the man before him. He feels dizzy. How much blood did he lose? "Thought you were busy babysitting Samu. I'm busy trying not to kill you." Suna snaps through gritted teeth. "Have you lost your fucking mind? Are you stupid?" Atsumu hums, and there's something so amusing about this situation. "I dunno. You tell me, you fucking piece of shit." Suna spits out, and his grip on Atsumu's collar tightens. He pushes him harder against the wall. "Do you think that's funny? Do you have any idea what would have happened if I hadn't found you? Do you even realize how fucking dangerous that was?" Atsumu stares into his eyes and he sees it clearly. The small flicker of fear that almost suffocates next to all the anger. His grin fades slowly, and Atsumu clenches his jaw. He swallows down the heavy lump of spit and blood, his gaze remaining focused on Suna. It's strange, this feeling of guilt that overcomes Atsumu. Why is Suna so upset? "Nothing happened," Atsumu says, and Suna's eyes widen for a split second, his grip now so tight that the fabric of Atsumu's torn jacket starts to constrict his throat. It almost hurts. "I swear to God, I'm this close to knocking you back into unconsciousness." "Atsumu, do it then." And for a moment, Rin just stares at him, his annoyance spreading to Atsumu. Why did he even interfere? Atsumu had everything under control. He could have dealt with those bastards on his own. He never needed Suna's help. He could have done it on his. "You almost died just now." Suna loosens his grip. Atsumu frowns. Despair now takes over and supplants Suna's anger. Atsumu averts his eyes from him, his gaze feeling too oppressive. Suna's hands slowly slip from Atsumu's collar. He draws in a deep breath and takes a step back, running a hand through his hair and turning away from Atsumu. For some inexplicable reason, Atsumu's eyes shimmer as they stare at Rin's back. For some inexplicable reason, he feels sorry. Nothing has happened after all, did it? You've always done what you think is right, and I'm the last person to stop you from doing that. Atsumu's stomach twists as Suna turns back to him. His eyes gleam, too, and Atsumu is sure there's only been one time he's seen him this vulnerable. "But don't you dare expect me to explain your reckless actions to Samu." "I won't do it," Tsumu, forget it. Atsumu gulps and frowns. His expression confused. His voice is small. Shit. His head hurts. What do ya mean? When that bastard knocked you out, I thought I was too late. Tsumu, it was almost as if you didn't want to come back. Suna walks back to him. I barely managed to prevent them from shooting you. 1 second later and the blast would have killed you. Atsumu's heart is racing, pounding a little too loudly in his head. Why are Rin's eyes so wet? What's that all about? You're becoming just as numb as you were when we saved your brother. Rin is standing in front of him again and his lips are trembling. Just a little. Atsumu can convince himself it's from the cold, but he knows better than that. You almost made me freak out back then. I had no idea how I could get you to keep going. Tsumu, it was. Rin stops and takes a deep breath. It was as if your body was just an empty shell, and you were no longer able to function. What is this? Why is he bringing this up now? Why can't he just leave Atsumu alone? What is he doing here anyway? Atsumu is doing fine on his own. He should get away from here. Tsumu. Suna whispers now. And oh, is he wiping a tear from Atsumu's cheek? Is Atsumu crying? When did this start? Shit. Talk to me, a plea. Atsumu's body trembles. Blinking away his tears is somehow getting harder and harder. He bites his lips to hold it back, averting his eyes from Rin. But Rin cups both of his cheeks and forces his gaze up to him. Is that pity in his eyes? Compassion? Why does he look so sad? Just because Samu is back doesn't mean we can lose you. You're not losing me. Yes. Suna furrows his brow, and a spark of anger seems to return. If you go on like this, we will. Tsumu. Atsumu gulps. Since when has he been such a burden to them? He didn't want this. He didn't want any of this. Why should I believe you? He didn't want this. Fuck. He really didn't want this. Atsumu. Rin hugs him, squeezes him tightly, and although Atsumu is covered in wounds that hurt like a bitch, this somehow feels nice. Talk to me. Tell me what to do, but please. Please don't bottle this up anymore, Rin. Atsumu falls silent. What does he even have to say? For a few beats, they just stand there, Atsumu in Rin's arms, in an embrace that was long overdue. They forget everything around them. The only thing that matters right now is the warmth that reaches Atsumu, something he hasn't let get to him in months. And then something inside him seems to break, because more tears well up in his eyes and Atsumu gives up blinking them away. His lips tremble, but he has no power to hold it back any longer. His body is shaking, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Rin is here, because Rin is holding him, because Rin makes sure he's alright. Atsumu reaches into the fabric of Rin's jacket, squeezes him tighter, and lets go of everything he's been holding in for far too long. I'm sorry, he whispers, but Rin shakes his head. Don't be. His voice cracks again and he buries his head in the crook of Rin's neck, closes his eyes when tear after tear slips down his cheeks. It's as if the dam broke and now Atsumu can no longer stop it. Too weak, too tired to fight it. All he can do is rely on his best friend and let himself be vulnerable. Rin strokes Atsumu's back gently, cradles the back of his head, and hugs him tightly. The last time he was this gentle with Atsumu was before they parted ways to look for Osamu. It's been a while. What's wrong? Tsumu. The worry in his voice is audible. Will he understand? He found out. Atsumu chokes down a sob. The day we bailed Samu out, he found out that we were both involved in this fucked up mission about Komori. Suna's body tenses for a split second. Atsumu almost didn't notice. He pulls back a little so that he can look Atsumu in the eye. His hands linger on his arms. Rin frowns. Who? He asks, confused. Sakusa? Atsumu nods. Isn't that pathetic? Atsumu mutters and only now can he bring himself to look into Rin's eyes. I shouldn't care. Just because we hooked up a few times doesn't mean I should let it get to me how he feels about this. I was ready to let him kill me. Maybe he'd better not mention that to Rin. Atsumu takes a few steps back until his back hits the wall again. Then he slowly lets himself slide to the ground, hugging his legs and staring at the dirt with a blank stare. But I hurt him. I hurt him so much. Rin. Atsumu scoffs at himself, runs a hand through his hair, and looks up at Suna in despair. Rin's frown deepens. There's so much pity in his gaze, it makes Atsumu sick. Tsumu, he says in hushed tones and crouches down in front of him. His palms linger on Atsumu's knees, his eyes never leaving Atsumu's golden ones. And that look. Atsumu continues to mumble, his voice bitter, mocking. That betrayed look, like I used all this between us just to take away the only person in his life who means something to him. Atsumu's voice breaks. His body trembles. He tilts his head back and presses the heels of his palms against his eyes. He can't stop crying. Why can't he finally stop crying? This sucks. I didn't want any of this. You love him. Atsumu sobs. His gaze focuses back to Suna. His heart is racing. Does he? I didn't want to hurt him. Rin. I didn't want any of that. How was I supposed to know? How could I have possibly known? Why him? Why couldn't it have been anyone else? Why did it have to be him? I don't get it. How could I have possibly known that fate had long been sealed between us? How was I ever supposed to fight what I felt for him? I couldn't. Shit. Atsumu. Rin sits down next to him and pulls Atsumu into another hug. For a moment, they both remain silent. Rin because he needs to process everything Atsumu just told him, and Atsumu because he's sick of it all. Because he's too tired to face his own feelings. He doesn't have to forgive me. Atsumu mumbles. I just want him to feel better again. You're hurting too. Atsumu. It doesn't matter. Rin pushes Atsumu away from him and looks at him. Irritated. He shakes his head and sighs deeply, running his hands through his hair. You need to talk to Samu about this. And tell him that I've been fooling around with Yakuza in the meantime. That I'm moping around because I caught some stupid feelings for someone that I'm supposed to kill. You'll push Samu away from you if you go on like this. He's already realized that something's off. How would you feel if he withheld his feelings from you? Huh? Don't you think you're being a little unfair to him? Rin looks him sternly in the eye. Atsumu wants to punch him. Atsumu, you're destroying yourself if you go on like this. Atsumu clenches his jaw. He can't look him in the eye. Rin is right. Of course. He's right. But is that what Atsumu wants to hear? No. You have to talk to him. Atsumu. Rin says in surrender. He sighs deeply. You have to talk to him before shit goes down. But what if it's too late? Deep down, Atsumu knows he can't keep shit from Osamu. He knows that his brother feels what he feels. He knows that Osamu is aware that something is wrong with Atsumu. He knows that Osamu is keeping an extra eye on him because Atsumu is keeping him in the dark. Is it fair? Not at all. Atsumu almost went nuts himself when Osamu shut him out of his feelings when he was back. He himself experienced what it does to him. So how could Osamu be any different now? But if Atsumu tells him what's going on, what really happened in those years apart, he doesn't know if that would push Osamu away from him forever. Because it was Yakuza for whom they accepted this mission. It was Yakuza who made Osamu go through hell. It was Yakuza that took their family from them. And it's Yakuza that Atsumu has become infatuated with. Everything for a man who was destined for Atsumu's doom from the start. Osamu would hate him. Isn't that a given? What happened? His eyes are wide as they land on Atsumu's wounds. Osamu rips off his apron and hurries to his brother. His eyes flit to Suna for a moment before he examines Atsumu again with concern. He tenderly cups Atsumu's cheeks. His eyes trace each trail of blood. Osamu frowns. Rin did a sloppy job cleaning him up. Atsumu. What? Osamu clenches his jaw, staring into his eyes, burning. Osamu's eyes blaze with a fire of rage. Atsumu. What happened? I'll leave you two alone. Rin murmurs, keeping his gaze on Osamu for a moment. He nods. They both wait until Rin pulls the door shut. Now it's just them. Osamu's gaze returns to Atsumu. Concern etched into every line of his face. There's a growing anger flickering in his eyes as he observes his brother's wounds. Atsumu avoids his brother's intense gaze, debating whether he should reveal the details of the recent ordeal or not. Because he is a coward, he opts for the latter. Atsumu sighs and slowly peels Osamu's hands off his face, a silent signal that he needs some space. Suppressing groans of pain, he strips off his jacket, wincing with each movement. The wounds run deep, and every inch of his body protests. Osamu's concern deepens as he watches Atsumu's obvious discomfort. It's nothing. Atsumu finally says, his voice carrying a hint of nonchalance that doesn't fool Osamu for a second. Something in Osamu snaps at those words. He can't hold back any longer. What do ya mean? Nothing. Osamu's tone is sharp, filled with frustration. He gestures toward Atsumu's battered form. Look at yourself. Atsumu. This ain't nothing. What the hell is wrong? Atsumu sighs deeply as he walks to the couch, the weight of the events pressing on him. He winces as he eases onto the seat, the pain from the fight settling in. He leans back and closes his eyes. Sleeping seems so incredibly tempting now. But he can't sleep right now. Can he? Osamu will be mad. I can't believe Kita-san would send you on a mission like this. What the? Oh, this wasn't a mission from Kita-san. Atsumu interjects, his voice cutting through Osamu's words. The statement hangs in the air, a revelation that catches Osamu off guard. He falls silent, staring at his brother, waiting for him to elaborate. Atsumu takes a moment, choosing his words carefully. It's a personal matter, something I had to do for myself. Osamu's eyes narrow in confusion and concern. Personal? Atsumu, what the hell are you talking about? What could possibly be so important that you'd risk your life like this? Not. Atsumu's gaze focuses on the ceiling, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. It's complicated, Samu. Just know that I had to settle something, and it got messy, but I'm here now, ain't I? Osamu's frustration turns into a mix of anger and worry. You're here now, you're keeping secrets from me, he says, his voice low, almost threatening. You're shutting me out of your life like some stranger. Osamu's frustration deepens into a simmering anger, and his accusing words pierce the tense atmosphere. Since when do we take missions that ain't from Kita-san? What the hell's going on with you? Atsumu's eyes remain fixed on the ceiling, a storm of conflicting emotions raging within him. He can feel his brother's growing anger, the accusations hitting too close to home. Suppressing another sigh, Atsumu finally glances at Osamu, a glint of defiance lingering in his eyes. You think I'm shutting you out for the fun of it? Atsumu snaps, his frustration bubbling to the surface. Atsumu glares at his brother. I did this for you, Samu. Osamu's anger falters for a moment, confusion taking its place. The unexpected revelation catches him off guard. What do ya mean? He breathes out, his eyes searching Atsumu's for an explanation. Atsumu takes a deep breath, his gaze steady as he meets his brother's eyes. I got a lead on Terashima, a chance to finally take him down, but I needed to prove myself first. Show them I'm worthy of the information. This was the only way. Samu, I wanted to do this alone. Osamu is taken aback, the revelation sinking in. They fall into a heavy silence. The room seems to constrict around them. Atsumu can sense the tension building, the air growing thicker with unspoken words. Osamu's frustration seems to intensify, his blood boiling for reasons Atsumu can't entirely comprehend. Osamu averts his gaze, staring at a spot on the ground as if trying to anchor himself. He clenches his hands into fists and grits his teeth. This is bullcrap, Osamu mutters, breaking the silence. I never asked you to do this. Atsumu, leave Terashima alone. This time it's Atsumu who snaps at his brother, frustration seeping into his words. And watch M kidnap you again, or worse, kill you? We don't know what Daisho is planning against Inarizaki. Osamu bites back, his anger unleashed like a torrent. So you'd rather get yourself killed than listen to your brother? Is that it? It's as if a dam has broken within Osamu, releasing all the pent-up emotions that have been festering for weeks. What the hell is all this about? Atsumu, why didn't you let me in on any of this? This concerns me more than anyone else, and yet you keep shutting me out. You're rotting away in that room of yours and disappear to these stupid missions, and the only reason I'm not worried sick is cause I know that Kita-san would never give you anything truly dangerous in your current state. But you've been fooling me. Huh? You've been fooling all of us, haven't you? You're still fooling me. Huh? Ah, shit. This isn't good. And I let you, cause I don't know if you need a break from me. Cause I'm scared of doing something wrong if I stop you. Cause I don't fucking know what's going on with you. But I've just let it get worse, haven't I? I don't get it. Atsumu, why are you pushing me away? Why are you keeping things from me? Why? Osamu pauses his verbal onslaught, a realization dawning in his eyes. He takes a moment, his features shifting as he seems to grapple with a newfound understanding. Atsumu watches him, tears glistening in his red-rimmed eyes, but he's once again refusing to let them fall. He waits with his breath caught for what his brother will say next. Is it because? Osamu starts, his voice softening with a mix of realization and vulnerability. He trails off, leaving the question unspoken but heavy in the charged atmosphere. Atsumu's heart pounds a little too hard in his chest. Is it because of Rin? His head keeps throbbing and throbbing. What? Atsumu asks. His voice is small. He knew where to find you. Osamu realizes, hurt etched in his voice. Do you trust him more than me? Atsumu frowns. No. He replies defensively. Atsumu stands up. His wounds feel as if they are tearing his body apart. Maybe it's not just the wounds. No. Samu, please. It was luck that he found me. He followed me because he had a bad feeling. Luck. Bad feeling. Huh? Osamu huffs and his expression shifts, his hurt deepening. He treats you as if he suspects or even knows what's going on with you. Atsumu hesitates, unable to meet his brother's eyes. Osamu presses on, his tone wounded. What's going on between you and Rin? Atsumu. Atsumu's gaze snaps back up, taken aback. He replies sharply, there's nothing going on between us, Samu. But Osamu just scoffs, shaking his head and turning away from his brother as if not believing him. Atsumu's frown deepens. He doesn't know what to do. So, the kiss between him and you was nothing, too? Osamu mutters, hurt bleeding into his words. Atsumu's eyes widen with shock. Did he get it right? If it was nothing, why didn't you ever tell me? How does he? Did Rin? Atsumu feels like his world is crashing down around him, crumbling with each bitter word and the ground slipping away beneath his feet. He doesn't understand how Osamu found out about that almost kiss with Rin. A stupid, miserable moment that both of them regret. The kiss never happened, but it hovered there, ready to become a mistake that could shatter everything. Atsumu managed to stop them before things could have taken a turn for the worse, but it seems as if it has nevertheless found its destructive power. Atsumu's feelings alternate between shock, guilt, and despair. His heart races, pounding in his chest as he tries to grasp the extent of the situation. How did Osamu find out about something that never came to be? How? How do ya know about that? Atsumu finally stammers out, a lump forming in his throat. Osamu scoffs bitterly, his eyes filled with hurt and anger. Does it even matter how I know? Atsumu. Desperation claws at Atsumu as he tries to explain himself, to convey that nothing happened, that there is nothing between him and Rin. He begs Osamu. His words pour out in a desperate attempt to save the trust between them. Nothing happened, Samu. I didn't kiss him, and we don't have those kinds of feelings for each other. Atsumu insists, but Osamu's disbelief is evident in the way he glares back. Bullshit. Tsumu, I ain't buying it, he yells back, his voice laced with frustration and betrayal. Osamu snatches his jacket, unable to bear the weight of the conversation any longer. Atsumu feels helpless and awful. He watches in agony, feeling like his brother is slipping away from him with every second that passes. A gut-wrenching sensation swells within him, an anxiety that threatens to consume him entirely. The sinking feeling inside him intensifies, and he fights the urge to throw up. Fear grips him, and the room feels smaller with each passing moment. I can't believe Terashima told me the truth, Osamu mutters to himself as he gets dressed. The words catch Atsumu's attention. What? He asks quietly and confused because why the hell is he bringing him up now? Osamu stops in his tracks, facing his brother. Terashima showed me a photo, he says, his voice sharp and accusing. You and Rin, sitting by the fire, leaning in, staring at each other's lips. I can't believe that after everything he's the only one who's honest with me. Samu, don't take me for a fool. Tsumu, I know damn well what that means. Nothing happened. Huh? Nothing happened. My ass. And before Atsumu has a chance to explain, Osamu rushes out of the apartment and slams the door shut. The hollow sound reverberates in the now empty room, leaving Atsumu alone with the shattered remnants of their crumbling bond. It's then that Atsumu's phone buzzes with a message that couldn't have been more fitting. Mian. Today, 7:48 p.m. Nice work, kid. Looks like I was right about you. Terashima is meeting Tendo in Tokyo. If you catch the next train, you might be lucky enough to run into them tonight. I'll leave that chance up to you. And well, Atsumu wouldn't be Atsumu if he wasn't seething with rage, right? Looks like he has a bone to pick with Terashima.